Hey everybody, it is I, your Survivor buddy, the man of the hour, the Tower of Power, too sweet to be sour. Gordon Holmes here with the nerdiest thing you're going to do all week. I'm talking about the Survivor 45 Power Rankings, and I am joined, as always, I am pleased as punch to welcome back the Challenge Rockstar of Survivor 44, talking about Frannie Marin. Welcome, Frannie.
Hello, what's this? I love all this little wordplay we're doing. I didn't prepare anything. Too
Oh, you
sweet to
did?
be sour.
Next time.
Uh, she needs a shower. Brandy Bird. Yeah,
Well, hey man, I mean, we don't have the scent zoom turned on.
yeah.
Maybe that's in the future.
Yeah.
In case you haven't noticed, I'm still under the weather. Unfortunately, the cough that won't go away. Hooray! But it makes you feel any better. It comes with an amazingly aching headache. So it's been a blast in the Holmes household the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It has been. So I will continue to blame any bad picks I make and my deep, sexy voice on this illness that won't go away. Hooray!
Yeah. We love that.
Yay!
Hmm.
Oh boy. So, Franny, let's take a quick look at the scoreboard. She did
Oh
it
my
again.
God.
This is the thing. It's not just that I'm losing. It's not. I'm just not picking up any like little ties or any like 1 point victories along the way.
I
Same
know.
same thing
Well,
happened
and
with Owen.
if this had been 1 week earlier with
Oh,
Kendra, it would have been you would have been gangbusters. I
yep.
think you would have like pulled all the way ahead. I felt bad. And I actually, as I was watching, I kind of couldn't remember if we had disparity, like in what direction our disparity was this week. So I was like, oh God. And then I looked at my rankings, like, oh, I'm fine.
Like Holmes, he's got nothing on me.
He's
Yeah, that's
got
what.
it.
Like I said, like we do the rankings, and then they completely vanish from my brain, and then I'm watching the episode, and I'd be like, oh wait, and like because they first start like with the two names before the
Yeah.
tribal. I'm sorry, before immunity, and then somebody wins immunity, so they're out, and they get. So I'm like checking back my notes, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this isn't gonna go my way.
Yeah. Well, you know what though, and what I'll say is like, so obviously, I put both Kendra and Jake at the bottom last week, just because I think that, and obviously that ended up being good. But I did that because they sort of felt like the easy, yeah, it ended up working
Good
out
for
for me.
you.
But they both kind of seemed like okay, the easy choices. But I actually really was expecting Reba to fracture this week. And so despite the fact that I ranked Kendra pretty low, I was actually surprised that she was the one who went home at the end of the day. I mean, once we got down to tribal, it was the votes did seem to be very clearly between like Jake and Kendra. But yeah, I don't know. That Reba group is sticking together really well. And yeah, even with votes gone and votes, everybody's losing their votes, they're still managing to keep it together. So props to them.
You mentioned losing votes. I got to tell you, like, I'm not a fan of the losing votes, but I am less of a fan of a challenge where your immunity is at stake and somebody else is in control of it. Like that
Totally.
really, that like if any, I feel like immunity should always be up to the individual.
100%.
Because like what would have stopped Julie from just being like, oh, we want Bruce to play his idol, we want to get rid of Kendra, so I'm just going to sit here.
Yes.
So like the votes is an issue, but a whole separate issue is I don't think immunity should ever be a team sport. Like there, I've said it.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
that.
Well, and I mean, we had one of these on season 44 where we were in pairs and I was with Jam Jam and like we did fine. We made it to the second round, but like it's the sort of thing where I feel very confident that if I was on my own, like I could have pulled that one out. And so it does kind of stink like who you're placed with. And I saw people saying this online that Julie should have just sat down,
Yeah.
said, well, and I know that for her, the drive to compete, I'm sure is very strong. And it seemed like before the challenge, they were unclear on how the voting would work, like if even all of them would go to the same tribal. So if that part is unclear, then I can see why, if you're Julie, you still really want to push to win and, you have that competitive drive. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like something where, an opposing figure could really throw a wrench into somebody's game in a way that doesn't feel quite fair.
Yeah. And I feel like from a producer standpoint, I totally understand the taking away of votes. But, and I'll say this till I'm blue in the face, Survivor is you create a community and then one by one you vote people out of that
Yes.
community for whatever reason. For they're
Mhm.
not helping around camp, for they're a jerk, for what, like, et cetera. And at the end, the people that are voted out have to reward the person whose game they respect the most. And
Yeah.
that takes away from that. And I know that Jeff is always going to be like, that game's gone, Gordon. I've heard him say that a million times. Like it is. But at the same time, like it still needs to be there. So I'm never going to be a fan of taking away the votes, and definitely not a fan of, like I said, team immunity. Like so, like it
Yes.
was. I get it, but I don't like it.
Yeah, and I feel like I can get behind it maybe one round, in a season just to really shake things up. But like we've done this already. We split them up into two different groups. We had like half the people be safe at the mergatory. Like I really want them to just all be able to vote for each other. And at the top of the episode, Emily's floating this plan to get out D, somebody who's really like, in this strong alliance, is making a lot of moves, it seems. And I was kind of excited to see where that was going to go. And then boom, Emily loses her vote. No chance of that happening. Yeah, so I'm hopeful that next week, in the next time on, it didn't seem like we have any major, vote stealing twists coming our way. So I'm hopeful that they'll be able to just like breathe a little. And also, not to mention, it makes our job harder when we don't even know who's going to be able to
Think
vote.
about us.
Like, what about
us.
me? Yeah,
I'm sick.
I'm sick. It needs to be easy.
I will say this. I was the one last week who was like PB&J. That's the way to go. Rotisserie chicken. That feels like a solid I'm starving in the wilderness meal. I think I could go for that.
Yeah, that was wild. That was wild. And I love how Jeff, in the like he does his little challenge thing, he just goes, reward rotisserie chicken. And all of us are like, oh yeah, that sounds good. And then they get there and I was like, this is the sorriest rotisserie chicken I've ever seen. Literally, they couldn't even, give them a real table to sit at the sanctuary. It was like a block of concrete that they all gathered around.
And if there's anything you should have in the wilderness, is a rotisserie. It's literally just like, that's like probably the earliest form of cooking things.
Yeah. It's a cooking staple. It's an early man. Yeah. I thought that was a funny reward, and also a funny group of people to be on reward together. Like Kendra seems to have not been vibing with Bruce lately. Also, another thing I'll say about the episode this week, I really liked what we saw from Bruce, and I really liked that moment that we see of him kind of questioning his relationship with Kelly. First of all, I mean, I felt that so hard because I think that must be so difficult to, you're already low because your ally got voted out, and then now people are telling you all these things that you didn't expect to hear about them. But I liked that it prompted him to do some self-reflection and think about how he brings this home. I thought that was all really wonderful. And then I was psyched when he won immunity again. I was proud of him.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I thought that was a really interesting moment, and something that obviously he can take out of the game, because he compared how he treats Kelly to how he treats his own daughter. So hopefully he can learn something there. But also, like, that's an interesting arc if he makes it further in the game. If he gets in front of the final three, like, that's a really interesting story to tell. Yeah. Kelly's going to be on the jury, and if he can say, like, I had no idea I was treating you this way, and I apologize if you felt that way. I know maybe it's kind of cheesy, like, to use it for jury votes, but like both can be true. It can be his honest feelings, and it can help sway jurors. So a really solid Bruce episode. And I think, and I'll scream this from the hilltops. Is that a thing? That I don't think people dislike Bruce. I think they dislike how Bruce acts on Survivor. I think out of the game, they probably adore him because he's a great guy. So I do think it is a thing where this is more in-game Bruce than, like, I think people genuinely didn't like Russell Hantz, or Philip Shepard. And I think that they're not interested in like hanging out with them after the show. I think Bruce is different. I think Bruce is a really good guy. Not that they aren't good guys, but they're just, they're who they are. But I don't think he's a villain. I think he just, is who he is out there.
Totally. And like, I've hung out with Bruce many a time. I think Bruce is really fun to hang out with.
Name drop.
Well, I know Bruce from Rhode Island, so there you go. But yeah, Bruce is super fun to hang out with when you're like well slept and well fed. And I always think he's hilarious, but I see why he gets grading on people in the game. But I don't know. I'm glad that we're getting a more well-rounded look at him and his game. And yeah, it's interesting because Drew, to that, kind of presents this dichotomy. Like, Bruce has the option to put his head down and, live in denial, or to reevaluate his game. And I'm really hopeful that Bruce takes this opportunity to reevaluate, start, kind of rebuilding relationships or building them from scratch even, and move forward. So I don't know. I'm curious to see where he goes. I'm glad that we're giving him time to cook a little bit.
Back in my day, when we do exit press, the word association, the fun of that was they would rip each other apart. But nowadays, everyone is super nice because everybody seems to get along because they don't really cast a-holes anymore. But I could see interviewing Katurah when this is all over, her being like, Bruce is great. He was just annoying me out there. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah. I know. Bummed we didn't get Kelly's word association. What did Kelly have to say about Bruce? That's what.
Well, I'm sorry I was sick, Frannie.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was so mean of me. Jeez. God.
I'm sorry this illness has inconvenienced you.
Really brought my week down. Also, wait, can we talk about Kelly and Caleb on the jury this week? For some reason, that little duo, it looked like Kelly is like a grieving widow and Caleb is like her, like nephew or something that's like helping her through this tough time. Things were dark over there on the jury bench. Like Kelly looked very upset, understandably so, but it was just the contrast between those two in mourning and the tribe who's still crazy on rice and laughing at Jeff's jokes and stuff was really funny to me.
Well, did Jake say it had only been a day since that previous tribal? I'm not sure how the schedule works out, if it's 1 day or 2 days. Like I don't think it's 3 days anymore, but like I worked at Comcast for 17 years and then was recently laid off. It was a situation like whenever anybody's like, oh, you should hang out with the old Comcast people, I'm like, I'm good. I imagine that must, like, when you get like blindsided, it's probably pretty similar where they're like, oh, gotta go to tribe, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to see these guys, like
yeah, and you see them laughing and hanging out. Yeah,
stop having a good time, I'm over here. And I had a sandwich last night. How do you like that, Austin?
Yeah, she should have brought a sandwich to tribal bites. Yeah.
So let's take a look at how our friends did on the message board. Quite a few people called it last week. So 9 points for Survivor Drip, Jag519, Kristen Dicker, I Volcanic, Logan Smith, Survivor Gangster, Scott Waldo, C Blazer C, Brendan Smith, and coming from last place last week to first place this week, Potato Dog nailed it. Knew you could do it, Potato Dog. I believe in you.
Yeah, Potato Dog, we're still working on it, but it's okay.
All right, it's tied with Frannie in spot 8. We have Sarah Nova, Andrew Gulia, JM Chap, Senti6223, Joy Survives, Chris Hubblewan, Sociocra Potato, and Jenna Dam. With 7 points, we have Brandon Davies, Alan W., Joel M. Gallagher, Kevin A., Trevor the Therapist, and JP15 is me. 6 points for Carpe Diem, Nadia X01, Cats Rule the World, Prodigious Girth, Dr. Death, and Alex Milne. Alex, another one who was on the bottom, found the way back up. Good job. Well done, Alex. Tied with me in spot 5, Mr. Platt and Kavya Mishra. 4 points to Mr. Spark, Eric Swain, Eric Chavez, and Benny6903. This was Benny's first time playing. Welcome. And finally, welcome, Benny. And finally, a big cyber hug, if you're willing to appreciate it. Damn Daniel.
Oh, damn Daniel.
Spot 3. It could have been worse. Spot 3.
Yeah.
Not good, but you could have done worse, but I'm sure you'll get them next week. All right.
Yeah.
So let's get into the rules of this fiasco. All right, the rules of the Survivor Power Rankings are as follows. Each week, our two combatants will create separate power rankings. The ranking of the person who's voted out of the next episode will determine the number of points our players will earn. For example, if Julie is voted out this episode, and I have her in 3rd place, and Frannie has her in 4th place, I will receive 3 points, and Frannie will receive 4. At the end of the season, the person with the most points, probably Frannie, will be named the Survivor 45 Power Rankings Challenge Champion. Important to note, rankings are not based on who the player thinks is most likely to win.
No.
The smart strategy is to rank players based on how safe you think they are in the upcoming vote. All right, Frannie, ready to do this?
Yes, I'm going to kick us off in spot number 1. Perhaps not a shocker. I'm keeping my guy, my boy. Whoa. I'm keeping Austin in spot number 1. He's still got 2 idols. He is still in a solid alliance. I'm wondering if the Reba group is going to fracture at any point. But even if they do, I don't know that Austin is going to be at the top of the hit list there on either side. So I think Austin is super mega safe this week as well.
First of all, lock of the week, obviously, or not lock of the week. Why do you keep saying of the week? Just a lock.
Yeah,
it's a lock. All right, we like Austin. Like, how is he not a target? Is insane. Good at challenges. He's likable. He's adorable. He's a mathlete, apparently. How are people not? They know, and everybody knows he has at least one idol. I don't get it. It's mind blowing with this guy. Why isn't his name coming up? Like if there ever is any kind of unified front to take out, the Reba 4, maybe he's the obvious choice, so they go for somebody else. But I keep saying, like, they joked about them being like, the new JT and Steven. They are. And, Steven was going to take out JT at some point, and that point never came up. We're getting to this point now where that point might never come up with Austin. So someone's got to wake up and...
He's like a golden boy. Like, no, what's he doing wrong right now? Nothing. Yeah. And you're right about the mathlete thing. That was impressive because they had such little time on that timer. When we were watching, Matt and I paused the TV, did it ourselves, but it took us a couple of minutes, and he's starving and, he's missing his sandwich, and he did it. That was that was so impressive.
Yes.
Yeah, good on Austin.
I did the exact same thing and tried to figure it out and did, but it was a little longer than 3 minutes. So a little, like it was longer than 3 minutes.
Just a little longer.
And I wasn't starving. I was coughing. I was sick. But yeah, so kudos to Austin. Like, I will, like, if they're not careful, he's going to steal this thing. Because
I think so. He might just sneak right through. And it's interesting because it always, now that I've played, it makes me wonder, like, is there something we're not seeing, like, in the way he interacts with people? Like, I think he does come across as very, like, kind of sweet and kind. Maybe that's why he's not coming across as a threat. But yeah, it's surprising that he's made it this far without his name coming up ever at all a smidge. Very impressive.
It's kind of like, my hope was, like, I always felt like in Survivor 43, when Gabler won, it was kind of like, oh no, we all love Gabler. Gabler's the best. He was part of 3 alliances you never knew about. And it's like, well, that's not fair. How am I supposed to like appreciate the story if you're not telling me key parts of it? So like when they were like, D is going to beat everybody at final 3, I'm like, why? Like, I like D, but show me, like, why is D legitimately a threat? Is this something Emily's making up to kind of rock the boat or whatever? But it is a situation where it's like, show me. I don't want to get to the end and not make sense. Like Jam, it made perfect sense. Like, they did a great job there. So if Austin isn't a threat to win in the end, show us why. Is he stealing rice? Is he beating people up? I don't know. Is he like horrible human being? If he is, they're not showing it. I think he's adorable. So
yeah, I'd be shocked if he was a horrible human being, but you never know.
There's all this B-roll of him like kicking sand in people's face.
Yeah.
And spot 2, I have Drew. I think I've had Austin and Drew 1 and 2 for quite some time. But they should be on high alert this week. Now that Emily has let it be known that she isn't content being part of this 5-person alliance, they should be very wary that she's going to be looking for alliances elsewhere. And with their bag of tricks and with Katurah potentially looking to take Emily's spot, I think they'll be safe. I think if anything happens on that other side, I think Katurah is going to be the one to tip them off. So I think they have what they need to get by, but they need to be on high alert.
Yeah, absolutely. In my spot number 2, I'm keeping Bruce. He's doing really well in the immunity challenges. I don't know. I'm kind of like pulling for him to go on a little immunity run. I think that'd be very fun coming from Bruce. And he still has his idol. And not only that, so potential for another immunity win, still has a fully functioning idol. But I think that Bruce has maybe passed the point of being a threat and is now going to be seen as a number. Especially as we see this week, he kind of starts trying to talk with Julie more. It seems like he's maybe going to try to ingratiate himself to that Reba crew. Should Reba eventually want to turn on each other, they need to have people to help them do that. And I think that somebody might decide to pick up Bruce and use him as a number, in which case you don't want to vote him out now. Yeah, I think he's wonderfully safe. In spot 3, I have Katurah. By the way, just love that Bruce and Katurah have not been able to vote against each other yet. It's just so good. Like, I really hope that it happens, but it's so funny that it hasn't. But I think Katurah is in a good position as well. I think she's another person that, she's worked kind of with the Reba 4 or 5 with Emily, but it doesn't seem clear to me like which of them she's closest with. So I feel that all of them may feel some sort of connection with Katurah and may see her as a number that they could use down the line. And plus, I don't know that Katurah is really coming out, to the other players as a huge threat at this point. So I just don't really see the impetus to get her out.
In spot 3, I have Julie. You're not going to vote D out? The same D that everybody thinks is a train wreck if you take her to the final 3. Man, I need friends like that in this game. People that don't think they can beat me, but are happy to take second place to me. That's what you need. That was a little surprising coming from me because I thought Julie, I think Julie has like the heart of a killer. We saw it, she's still mad at Jake. She's never going to forgive Jake. So it is very much a situation where, Jake's never safe as long as Julie's in this game. I don't think she's a target unless D wins immunity and there's some move to try to fracture those two. But I think Julie's pretty safe in spot 3. In 4, I have Bruce. Bruce has rightfully moved into every person for themselves mode. He can't trust anybody. He was a part of the group that voted for Kendra. It seems like every member of Old Bello at some point was gunning for him or did something that, kind of fractured the trust. So, but if they're going to break the Reba stranglehold on this game, they got to trust, he's got to trust somebody. The odds of immunity challenging your way to the end are pretty slim. But he's proven good at the run on a bounce beam and stand in one place and hold things. So that's the majority of these challenges anyway. How good is he at puzzles? I'm not quite sure. But yeah, if they're going to do something, they got to work together, and his idol might be the key to that. But that involve him trusting somebody, and I just don't think he's going to trust anybody.
Yeah, that was so interesting this week where, you'd think with the, potentially 3 votes being taken away that, things are being really shaken up, that maybe the old Bellows could all get on the same page. I love that they all just scatter. Like I think that's what I thought was going to happen, but it was so funny to see it play out. Like even at the top of the episode, we see Kendra kind of starting to target D. Katurah immediately goes and tells on her. I just love the contrast between Reba that is so solidly together and Bello that just has like no interest in working together. In my spot 4, I have Julie kind of right up there with you. I thought it was interesting how, like you said, we have this whole kind of discussion from Julie about how, I'm not going to vote against D, even though Julie seems to recognize that D's doing really well in this game. But Julie identifies that they have a difference of opinion. Julie wants Jake to go, D wants Kendra to go. And we didn't get to see the conversation that resolved that. Like, I'm a little curious how that went, because clearly things went D's way. But I just wish we had seen that. Like, did Julie put up a fight there? Did she just kind of go with it? But yeah, ultimately, I don't think that anybody's really targeting Julie right now. I think in that kind of group of 4, D seems like the biggest threat among them. And I think Julie will be fine. In spot 5, I have Emily. She's becoming difficult to place for me. So in this episode, we see her kind of pitching to Drew and Austin this idea of turning against D, and that was awkward. We're literally like, like the very non-responsive.
Interesting. How about...
Yeah, how about let's go this way. So I think Emily picked up on the fact that wasn't a great interaction. And I think that she'll be smart enough to use that information to either gather other people should she want to target D, or find another way to get herself more on top. But yeah, she's kind of in an interesting position. She seems to have a lot of people who are willing to work with her, but yet I don't know. It concerns me that her 2 biggest allies seem to be more strongly part of this Reba group than with her. But ultimately, I don't really see things turning on her quite so soon.
In spot 5, I have Katurah. Like I said, I think Katurah could wiggle her way into Emily's spot with Reba, if that's what she wants to do. And I'm not sure that's what's best for her. But she's working both sides more than anybody, which is a dangerous spot. But if she's dead set on getting rid of Bruce, she can probably do that. Maybe not this week because of his idol, but I think there's ways to get in a better position. I'm not sure if that's with Reba or if that's pulling together Emily and the fractured pieces of Bella. But she's an interesting spot, so she can do a lot of things.
I also think it's good that she seems to be, exercising a lot of patience right now. Like, I think she realizes, she said in the episode, like, I know I'm number 5 on Reba, but, that's a better position than working with Bello. So I think it's good that she's kind of laying low, being kind of an important information bringer right now, and hopefully she'll rise up the ranks a little bit later.
Yeah. I mean, is it a situation where Emily starts making serious strides towards Jake and Bruce, and she's the one that lets Reba know about it? So I guess that's kind of where I'm a little concerned for Emily this week. I have her a lot lower in the rankings than you do. In spot 6, I have D. Like I said, I was hoping these 90-minute episodes, we wouldn't have surprises like everybody loves D. That's great. But yeah, apparently D is a huge threat to win if she gets to the end, which is news to me. And while Julie might be wary to get rid of her, eventually Drew and Austin are going to have to do something about her. Austin might be nervous about voting out his buddy, who Kendra thinks they're romantic.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to
that.
Kendra yet. I talked to Kendra Monday. This also goes up Monday. So I'm going to is that just wishful thinking, or what is it when a fandom pretend like shipping? Is that it? Is it
shipping,
a real thing?
Yeah.
Shipping?
Yeah.
Deaston? Austin?
Deaston? Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Dawson? Oh, I like Dawson better.
Yeah.
So yeah, is that a real thing? So Austin might have his issues getting rid of D. I don't think Drew does. So I'm going to keep her this low in case Drew thinks it makes more sense to keep Emily than it does D.
Yeah. We've got lock number 2. I have D in spot 6 as well. Yeah. I'm a little concerned about her. Like you said, it seems like people are, really identifying her as a threat. She's an interesting player right now because I feel like she is seems to really have a stronghold over this Reba group of 4. This is not the first time it sort of seems like she's gotten her way. But I love the way that she does it. Like, they'll all be standing in a group of 4 and somebody will present something and she just goes, I'm not 100. like I'm not 100% on that. And they're all just kind of like, oh, okay. So I think that Dee is playing a pretty strong game, and it seems like people are starting to notice that. Obviously we see Emily kind of starting to target her already. So personally, I kind of am feeling this tension brewing within this Reba group, and I'm hopeful that it will burst this week, which is why I have her a little bit lower. I think that she could be, the one who gets the straight bullet from that. In spot 7, I have Drew. Lot lower than you this week. So I'm realizing that I may have been pretty strongly swayed by the next time on. It sort of seems like in those clips, Jake has maybe thrown out Drew's name. Drew seems a little agitated. I don't know. I could see a world in which he gets turned on. It was pretty clear, at least from our perspective as a viewer, that he was the one who targeted Kelly. So I think that massive blindside is probably largely attributed to him. And all the Reba folks know that. I mean, they were there when that happened. So I could see a world where they want to start fracturing on each other and turn to Drew and say, hey, this guy's playing, like he's making moves. This might be somebody we want to get out. Maybe it gets out that he ate all the rice. People are upset about that. I thought that was a tough one. That was really bad. Yeah, so a little more concern for Drew this week. I do still think there's a world in which Austin plays the idol on him, but I don't know. This week made it seem like Austin was, getting in tight with Dee. I'm still unclear on if that's a showmance or not. I going into this,
Kendra.
Yeah, I know. Kendra. Plus, I thought that this week was going to be like, based on the previews, breakout week for Deaston or whatever. But I don't know. Dawson. Still a little unclear. Dawson. Yeah, I like Dawson better. So yeah, Drew in spot 7.
Ooh, man, if Drew goes this week, that is gonna just open up the floodgates, and who knows what happens next. So even though point wise, I don't want that to happen, entertainment wise, I might be all for that. Yeah, and not like I'm holding on to hope for some like huge come from behind victory, although that would be amazing. Yeah, that'd be amazing. Spot 7, I have Jake. Watching Jake at Tribal's tough. It's just like, please work with me, anybody. I'm a vote, please. Like it's that ship has sailed, buddy. You might get roped in for a vote or two, but you're not going to be anybody's number one. You've played so erratically, and not even that erratically, but just that's kind of like the reputation he has now. It's almost a point where it's like, if he gets to the end, will anybody respect what he's done to this point? He did work with Caleb, and Caleb's on the jury, but like, it's rough. And I like Jake. I think he's a funny guy. I like his story. But like, I think he's done. Like, aside from, I can't imagine him winning. And I can't imagine anybody pulling him in anything meaningful other than to be like a vote.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And that scene where, he's aside with Dee and Drew, and they're, making the rice and stuff. Oh, that was so hard, because I wanted him to, what I wanted him to do is, sit down with them. The disrespect
of the rice.
That was sad. And Jake comes back. He's like, oh yeah, man, appreciate it. And he opens it and he's like, whoa, oh my God, Drew's like stomach is full. Yeah, that's a hard one, because, Jake is kind of taking his foot off the gas and playing it a little easy, which I think is smart. He's saying, I can be a number, but he's not pushing it. But I feel like, gosh, he's in this really tough spot where I think he needs to just sit down with somebody and say, like, you understand I have no one right now. Like, please, I'm only going to do this with you. Like, can we please make something happen? And I just don't know if he's going to do that, or even if he does, if somebody will be receptive to it. I don't know. I think the good part is, I don't know if he'll continue to be a target that much longer. Like, I'm wondering if the focus will kind of shift to somebody else.
Julie will never let that happen.
Yeah, true.
Julie will never let that happen.
What am I saying? Yeah. Okay, true. Julie is never going to let him off the hook. So yeah, that's tough. And I don't know. I think that there is potentially a route back from this for him, but I think it's an uphill battle for sure.
It's spot 8, Emily. I think last week's big scene when Emily floated Dee's name and Drew and Austin weren't having it, I think that was very telling. So in the sense that, like, maybe I'm sure Drew doesn't have Dee in his end game plans and isn't ready to do it just yet. But as far as Emily's concerned, she can't, like, she's playing for Final Five right now based on that interaction.
Yeah.
So is this the time for her to go to Bruce, to go to Jake? Again, the wild card is going to be Katurah. She'd have no problem throwing Emily under the bus if it got her in better with the Reba Four. So, and nor should she. Like, if that's the way she wants to play, is to, like, hey, I was the last bellow standing and I did what I needed to do to get here. That's not a bad story. But so she shouldn't feel bad if she does that. But for Emily, it's do or die this week. What Emily's future in the game is going to be. I think Drew and the rest of Reba are gonna. You can't play in the middle, especially with them, especially if they trust her. So I think this might be Emily's week.
Yeah, you're like, it's do or die, but I think it's die. It's probably die.
Probably die. Yeah.
Yeah. Emily, I mean, I honestly, I was pretty shocked at how awkward and how unreceptive Drew and Austin were to her floating that. Like,
you know what that made me think of? It made me think of when Brando floated the idea of an alliance and Drew was just like, nah. Like, always give them something so that they don't immediately turn on you. Like, if once you shut that door, they're gonna go find another door. So it was kind of like that, where they should have been like, ooh, maybe not now, but let's think about when.
Yes.
Like,
yeah,
that's kind of how I felt about it.
And Emily and Drew, I especially Emily and Drew, I feel like we've seen them together more than Emily and Austin. I feel like they really have formed like a communicative relationship. You see her previous week talking about like the women's alliance, all this kind of stuff. So I just would have expected him to bat that ball around with her a little bit more and at least talk through it. So that does put her in an interesting spot, especially, oh no, if either of them decide to tell Dee that Emily said that, then Emily is cooked for sure. Yep. Dee and Julie do not let things go.
That big toe's like a switchblade. Just
yes. Okay, in my spot 8, I have Jake right down there as well. I don't know. I mean, he's kind of I think whether or not Jake goes this upcoming week is going to be dependent on if I think it's really going to be dependent on if Reba decides to fracture or not. Like, if they want to continue maintaining their numbers and kind of like play it safe, I think that Jake is in a really, really tough spot. But if they want to break things open and try something new, then I think Jake will become valuable. But yeah, just feels like a safe bet to put him all the way down here. I don't love it, but I'm doing it.
Makes sense. It makes sense. But it's like, I don't know if you ever watched the TV show The Walking Dead, but it was always kind of funny. Like, once somebody's like arc was over, they would immediately die. But like, so once Jake is gone, what's up with Julie? Like, what does she have to live for now that Jake's been taken from us?
Yes. Julie's entire story is just like, it's got to be Jake. And you know what I will say to that is, like, I can see why Julie is so fixated on that, because I think once somebody has said your name once, they will be willing to say it again. But I feel like it's getting to the point where I don't want Julie to become too fixated on it. And I almost feel the same with like Katurah and Bruce. Like, there comes a point where you need to look at the board and see if there's somebody who's actually better for your game. So yeah, I don't know. Hope that doesn't become a problem for her, but we'll see.
All right. Our picks are entered. They cannot be changed. The rules are wildly, very strict. Check them out down below. We had 2 locks this week. Austin in spot 1. One of the things we didn't mention was Austin just absolutely just like handed over an idol to Julie when he thought she was. That's a big deal. Like, granted, he has 40 of them. It's not that big a deal, but like, what did you think of that?
Yeah, that was huge. And I actually kind of forgot until you mentioned it that was something that happened, because when he hands it over to her, I was like, oh, that seems like a big deal. And I thought that maybe that would become important, that he's given away this idol to her. Maybe she would use it or show it to somebody. When her little group won and got to go on reward, I thought that she was maybe going to show it to Bruce and Kendra and say, look, we have this idol, or this is Austin's or something. I'm a little curious that didn't come back into play. Maybe that's something that'll come back around next week, but huge show of trust, just insane trust that they seem to have in this Reba group, which is impressive. And yeah, bold on Austin for just handing it away. I maybe still wouldn't get 2 idols, but he seems fine. He's in our number 1 spot, so I think he's okay.
So he's super safe. But like by the rules of Survivor, once you hand over an idol, it is their idol. I imagine she'll hand it back, and she doesn't want to cause too much friction within Reba. But like, that was a pretty big moment.
Yeah, well, again, as we've been told, Julie is gangster, so maybe she won't give it back.
I believe it. But yeah, another reason to love Austin, because that's how much he has his alliances back. Speaking of that alliance, another lock is Dee in spot 6. Not a great spot to be in with 8 people left in the game.
Yeah, not wonderful, not wonderful. I think that she's coming out a little too hot right now. Hopefully something can happen that'll take the heat off of her, but I don't know. I think it's hard to be identified as a threat to win this early. You know what I mean? Like once it gets down to, 6-5, there's not much that somebody can do. But with 8 people left in the game, people can certainly make a move against her. So we'll see.
The biggest disparity this week is Drew. I had Drew in spot 2, and Frannie has him in spot 7.
Yeah.
That is a bold choice, my friend.
I know. Maybe I shouldn't watch the next time on. I think that's what swayed me.
Oh, because they never lead us in the wrong direction, so I'm sure you're fine.
There's never once been a red herring in there. Yeah. I am the horse being led to slaughter. I'm like, oh yes, Drew will be going. Oh yeah. Oh goodness. Yeah. Well.
All right. Well, put your picks in the comment section below. Feel free to keep score and play along. We go by the honor system here because we're all friends. Also, if you enjoy this video, like it, subscribe to the channel, and gently nudge that notification bell. Check out my graphic novel, The Bad Guy. I'll put a link in the description. The professional wrestling graphic novel, tearjerker, feel-good story of the holiday season. Super proud of it. Written and illustrated by yours truly. Check it out. Frannie, any update on your nerdy enterprise?
I know. I feel like I jumped the gun a little bit on mentioning this. It's a slow.
Are they mad? Are they like, Frannie, what'd you do?
Where is it? Yeah, no. We're still cooking. Kane Fritzler from Canada. He's lawyer by day, podcast editor and producer by night. So I think it's taken a little longer than we'd hoped. But I think this week it'll be coming out. But now I don't want to say anything because what if it's not? But if you like D&D and you like Survivor, just keep watching. Something will happen eventually. I swear. I promise.
Is your hope to take over my place as the nerdiest thing you can do? Is this part of your ploy?
Yeah.
You and Kane from Canada?
Yeah. Yeah, we're like, we need another nerdy thing for the nerds to do during the week. So yeah, we're trying to usurp you. That's actually why I agreed to do this gig, is to befriend you.
That's messed up. It's messed up. Beat me in my own game, and then messed up.
I also infected you with sickness, so that was probably.
Thank you for 2 weeks of this cough. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Although my voice is deep and sexy, so I do appreciate it. Frannie, I appreciate you so much. I love that you do this with us every week. It's so much fun. It's so great. Hooray.
It's a blast. Yeah.
All of you come back later today, or actually today. My exit interview with Kendra will be up on the YouTube channel. And then come back this Thursday for exit interview with somebody. Come on, Emily. I don't want Emily to go. I love Emily, but like points wise, I need Emily to go. Drew, you stay safe, buddy. If you gotta walk away from Tribal, you do it. I know you have the advantage necessary. But yeah. So again, we'll hope to see you next Monday for even more of the Survivor 45 Power Rankings. All right,
also, wait, what is the score right now?
It's like infinity to 2.
Oh, no.
It's not that funny.
Should we even keep going? Yeah.
Keep score.